Here's a little interesting factoid for you. There is such a great, tremendous amount of static electricity in my house right now. It is driving me crazy. Okay, I have short hair, as you know, but honestly, I could probably shave my head, I could take it down to a buzz cut, and my hair would still find ways to spring up at odd times in all kinds of different wacky configurations. Um, I walk around in this house and I feel it going up. I do. And I all of a sudden feel like I'm in one of those weightless chambers where people go when they're training to be an astronaut. Yeah, so just thought I'd throw that out in case like something springs to the side or whatever. Anyway, moving on to the real reason that I'm here to make a video today. It's reading update time. My reading endeavors this time around were not quite as successful as they were the last time, unfortunately, but I did manage to read one fantastic book. So I started out by reading a whole bunch of short stories by Agatha Christie. I think I read like 8 or 9 of them, and I'm a big fan of hers. Her book, And Then There Were None, was brilliant in my opinion. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, mysteries, just flat out 100% pure mysteries that I've ever read. And I enjoy her writing style. I like the fact that her mysteries usually always surprise me, and they're very interesting and very smartly written. But if you were to ask me what any of the short stories specifically were about, or even their titles, couldn't really tell you. Yeah, okay, and kind of along the same lines, I read a book called The Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder by Joanna Fluke. And this is one of those cozy mysteries, and it is about a woman who is a baker in this small town and in Minnesota, I believe. Lake Eden, Minnesota, I believe. But she's a baker, and she teams up with her brother-in-law, who is a police officer, and they both try and figure out who killed this guy who was a driver for the local dairy farm. And it was good. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. So moving on to a book that I had very, 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 very high hopes for because I loved another book that I read by this person. But this one I actually gave up on, like 25% in. And it was The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. I read Big Little Lies last summer and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was very different than what I normally read. It was kind of more sort of chick lit with a little bit of mystery thrown in, and I don't tend to read those kind of books, but it was so good and it kept me just glued to this book. And I was really just dying to read anything else by her, and I finally decided to pick up The Husband's Secret because so many people loved it, and I just couldn't get into it. I mean, I think I will be the first to admit, I probably gave up on this book without giving it a fair shot because, it's a long book, and I gave up at like 25%, but I just couldn't. I didn't know what was going on. It was very confusing, and it's about, from what I could tell, sort of along the lines of Big Little Lies. It's told through the viewpoints of these 3 women. There's some kind of big secret involving one of the women's husbands. And it was I just couldn't concentrate on it. I kind of just got distracted because there was a cop car and I'm sitting in the second floor in my usual room that I make videos, and all of a sudden this cop car just stops right in front of our house and just stopped there, and I was like, what's going on? What did Tom do? What did I do? What did I do that I don't remember that I did, that the cops are here? Yeah, anyway. So now we get to something completely different. We get to the book that I absolutely freaking loved so much. And it's probably going to surprise you guys that this is the book that I'm freaking out about. But it is, I must say, My Life as a Humble Comedy Legend by Martin Short. Now, something that you guys probably don't know is that I am a huge fan of comedy. I love comedy, specifically 80s comedians, and Martin Short is hands down my favorite. I love the whole, heyday of Saturday Night Live, and I love Steve Martin, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, all of those people. But Martin Short has always been my absolute favorite. And I didn't read this book. I listened to the audiobook version, which I think made me love this book even more because not only does he narrate the book himself, but he does all the different voices. He sings, he performs. It's almost like experiencing the book in a theater instead of just reading a book, which made me love it even more. He is probably best known. He was on Saturday Night Live for one season, but he's been on Broadway. He tours with Steve Martin, and he was on a couple of episodes of Law and Order SVU, which I think he won an Emmy for. But and he also made movies like Inner Space and The Three Amigos and Captain Ron and Clifford and all that other stuff. But what I specifically know and love him from is the show SCTV. Now, all you youngins out there who are watching this video probably have no idea what the hell SCTV is, but it came out, it started in America at least, around the same time as Saturday Night Live. And that show, SCTV, had such a profound impact on my childhood. It used to be the highlight of my week. It used to be on Friday nights on NBC, and oh my god, it was so brilliant, so ahead of its time. Another one of my favorite shows is The Kids in the Hall. It totally was inspired by SCTV and just how incredibly bizarre and outlandish and just absolutely freaking batshit crazy at times some of the stuff they did on the show. But it was so brilliant and so well performed that, in my opinion, with the exception maybe the first two seasons of Saturday Night Live, SCTV blows Saturday Night Live out of the water as far as um, uh, imagination and just performance and the sheer freaking talent that was on that show. Like, he lost both his parents by the time he was 20. He lost his oldest brother when he was a little boy. He was in a long-time relationship with Gilda Radner, and of course she died when she was very young as well. And then probably the most emotional part of the book is when he started talking about how he lost his wife to cancer a few years ago, and they had been married for, I believe, 34 years. So not only did this book make me laugh out loud several times, but it also, more than once, almost made me cry because it's just so affecting and so just moving. And he wrote the whole thing, the funny parts, the serious parts, the sad parts. He wrote it so well. Definitely by far the best biography I've ever read in my life. I don't know what's going on with my voice here, people. So as to what I'm reading now, I am currently listening to the audio version of Cold Days by Jim Butcher. I'm about halfway through. That sucker is very, very, very long, but I'm enjoying it. It's great. James Marsters, who used to be on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who played Spike, he does the narration of all of the Harry Dresden books, and my father was a huge fan of the Harry Dresden series, and he listened to all of them. And James Marsters, his voice just captures the spirit of Harry very, very well. So I'm enjoying it. And I read I read the prologue, so technically I've started it, but I just started The Way of the Kings. I think that's what it's called. By Brandon Sanderson. Now, Brandon Sanderson seems to be exploding everywhere. Everybody on BookTube seems to be reading his books, and I've heard nothing but great things about him. I actually did read a book by him. I read Steelheart last year, and it was really great. And I felt in the mood to read an epic fantasy. So that's what I'm going to do. This thing is like 1,000 pages long, so it's probably going to take me until Christmas to finish it at the rate that I'm going. Excuse me. But he's got this very distinct writing style that I really like. And I'm excited. Yeah, because as I was telling Dylan, hi Dylan, if you're watching, as I was telling Dylan in a message on Goodreads, it's been a very long time since I read an epic fantasy, so I'm excited to get into this one. Yeah, anyway, that's it for me, you guys. This video is taking me forever. Literally freaking taking me forever to do this video, so I'm going to shut up. Sorry for all the rambling. Sorry for the disjointed mess that this video is, but I will talk with you soon. Happy reading, guys, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Bye!